We'll see how it goes. And there is some new pressure today on Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, as the feds say that fraud in his state could total $9 billion, up from the estimate of $1 billion. This thing is just absolutely exploding. We heard the $1 billion estimate a few weeks ago.
The magnitude of the fraud in Minnesota cannot be overstated. It's staggering amounts of money that have been lost. But it's not just about the money that's been stolen and wasted. This is a problem that's caused all of us to question what kind of state we live in.
So now almost 100 Minnesota mayors have written to Governor Walz and state lawmakers. Quote, fraud, unchecked spending, and inconsistent fiscal management in St. Paul have trickled down to our cities, reducing our capacity to plan responsibly, maintain infrastructure, hire and retain employees, and sustain core services without overburdening local taxpayers. Two of those mayors are going to join us in just a moment. But first to Chief Washington correspondent Mike Emanuel, reporting live from D.C. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Martha. Yeah, the chairman of the powerful House Oversight Committee is demanding answers. James Comer says his committee is expanding its investigation into massive fraud and money laundering in Minnesota's social services programs. Comer's asking for records from the Treasury and Justice Departments, including suspicious activity reports and interviews with state officials. Comer says honest whistleblowers were ignored.
The state employees who were the first to blow the whistle on the fraud, they claim that they notified Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison years ago. So this has been going on for years. The state employees have been blowing the whistle and alerting the governor, and he's turned a blind eye.
With some suggesting the fraud in Minnesota could be as much as $9 billion, Governor Walz says that's an exaggeration.
I'll take accountability for it, but what you're seeing here is you're seeing a weaponization. We'll continue to fix it. They're going to continue to come up with numbers that don't have it there, and it's sensationalized. I don't expect anything different from this administration.
The letter from those Minnesota mayors notes, quote, our state owes it to our citizens to practice responsible fiscal management and to stop taxing our families, seniors, and businesses out of Minnesota. Chairman Comer says the governor was aware but did not act because he did not want to offend Minnesota's Somali population. Martha?
Mike, thank you very much. Let's bring in two of the nearly 100 mayors who wrote to Governor Walz and state lawmakers about fraud. Like most Minnesota mayors, they're nonpartisan when they run for mayor. But Jackson Purfeerst from Cross Lake has volunteered for the RNC, and Andrea Zupancich from Babbitt is running for state Senate as a Republican. Welcome to both of you. It's great to have you with us today. I just want to put up on screen here, this is the $9 billion in Minnesota fraud schemes. So on the left-hand side is what this money was supposed to be for. And we'll go tight on here so you can see it. Feeding children, helping recovering addicts, helping disabled adults. This was during COVID for the most part. But the money went to wire transfers to China and East Africa, a villa in the Maldives, luxury vehicles, and designer jewelry. You can see the list here. But you hear what Governor Walz is saying, Mayor Purfeerst. He's saying, you know, this is up to like the local, the local management here, and he's taking the blame off of himself as governor. What do you say to that?
Martha, that is just absurd. I mean, Minnesotans have been fleeced to the tune of $9 billion. This is done from fraud right out of the Minnesota Capitol in St. Paul, as well as the policies that are being championed and brought across the finish line by the legislature. Both the legislature and the governor are at fault for the fraud and the constant policies that are taxing Minnesotans.
You know, let's put up Minnesota's rank among key growth indicators. Very anemic and devastating growth numbers actually across the state that have happened under this governor. But Mayor Zupancich, let me ask you about something that Mike Emanuel reported at the end there, this question about whether or not the governor looked the other way on potentially $9 billion of fraud because he didn't want to point out that the majority of those who were accused and then convicted in these cases were from the Somali community. What do you say to that?
Well, I don't understand what difference that makes to anyone else. How would anyone else be approached or confronted if they stole money from someone. They would all be acknowledged and have to go forward with the consequences of their actions. You know, we're sitting here bearing the brunt of everything: tax hikes, gas taxes, property taxes, boating taxes, gas taxes. We can't go anywhere. We can't go fishing. And he's afraid to offend someone. Well, what about me? I know my town, we're all offended that we're paying for all of this fraud to go on, and it's just coming out now when they've known about it for years. What's going to happen now? And let's just call it what it is. It's stealing. It's not, it's stealing. You're stealing from the state of Minnesota. You're stealing from the taxpayers that make this state the great state that it is. And how are we going to recoup from that?
I want to play this. This is Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison put out this video on Friday talking about how effective he's been in fighting scams in Minnesota. Watch this.
Scammers think Minnesotans are easy targets. They are wrong.
When scammers go after our seniors, students, or families, I step in fast and we shut them down.
If you plan to scam Minnesotans, think again. You're stepping into the wrong ring.
You know, who thought this was a good idea, Mayor Purfeerst? This went out on Friday.
You know what, Martha, I really have no clue. I wish that Attorney Keith Ellison would get back to work. I mean, this is insane. He is not doing anything to protect Minnesotans that are getting fleeced by Governor Walz and the current policies coming out of the Capitol.
All right, we'll see where this goes. He would like to win another governor's race, and we'll see where it goes. Thank you both, mayors from Minnesota.
Thank you, Martha.